What's up, everybody? Hey, thanks so much for joining, everyone. Welcome back to Carnivore Coaches Corner. This is our ninth official session. We're going to be diving into training intensifiers and eating on the road, the two topics of today. We are hosted, as always, by the original carnivore bodybuilder, Jonathan Griffiths himself, also with Coach Mark from all the way from Dublin, Ireland, Coach Mark Ennis, and I am Colt Milton. You can find Mark on Instagram at fitnessbeyondtime01. Jonathan is the composition consultant, and I am at Colt Milton. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because this is a weekly reoccurring deal where all of us bounce ideas off of each other, learn from each other, and answer questions. So anything related to training intensifiers and eating on the road, questions that you got there, go ahead and fire away. Anything else, we'll try to catch it at the end if we have time. All right, so we're going to start with training intensifiers. Mr. Jonathan Griffiths, what's your school of thought on that, my man?
Oh, yes, good topic to talk about. Thank you for the pleasant introduction as well as always. Training intensifiers. So the way I'm going to define those for now is anything which makes your level of training more difficult. So it's basically near enough anything that isn't a straightforward set. So, for example, the common school of thought, at least in the country I'm from in England, is people do 3 sets of 10. Each exercise, move on to the next and do a different exercise, so on and so forth. They might do that 2, 3, 4 times each body part, then move to a different body part. So for the sake of argument, I might start talking about rest pause. That's something I quite like. So it's a way of inching close to failure whilst maintaining the same weight that you're actually using or load in a given set. I like that because it removes a lot of factors around training. And what I mean by that is, if you're doing a rest pause set, say you're doing a 50 kilo chest press, you then rest 5, 10, 15 seconds. Some people have different sort of amounts of time, but I like to use around that sort of time period. You might then wait 5, 10, 15 seconds, do a second set. But obviously in the next set, you'll be burnt out to some degree, so you'll actually be doing less repetitions. The idea is to keep your same standardized form technique, along with the element of safety, which we always advocate. Go to the next set, give it 5, 10, 15 seconds again, go to the next set until you get to a point where you might be able to do 2, maybe 3 repetitions, and that's when you basically stop. So the idea is to get more training load, more volume, more intensity in a shorter given time period. I find that quite useful, especially if you're lacking time. If you want to fit in a quick workout, the chances are you're probably going to be adding in a rest pause set. There's lots of other different ways you can look at that as well. So there's something called myo reps, which are near about the same thing, and cluster sets as well, which are near about the same thing. But the difference with cluster sets is that you're actually not training to failure on each given rest pause set. So it's a way of accumulating fatigue, but without completely burning yourself out. That's just one of the things that I like to talk about and do with my training. But what about you guys, Mark? What do you quite like to do with your training if you do intensifiers?
Yeah, I'm the very, very same. I wouldn't be doing any like supersets or drop sets. I'd be doing the same as you, Jonathan. So how I do it is, let's say if I'm structuring, like say a push program, and I would never start off with like an intensity set. I would always do like say a straight set on the first exercise. Then on the second exercise, I may do I'll break it down. So let's say I'm doing a push section. I'm focusing on the chest. So what I'll do here is I'll do the heaviest movement in the gym first, which will be the dumbbells. That'll be probably the hardest one I can do. So I'll do a straight set on that. Then as I go on to the next exercise, then this is where I'll do forced repetitions. So this is where I'll probably get someone to come in and spot me, let's say when I can't get that extra rep up. And then when it comes to an intensifier set, that's when I'll add it in at the very, very end. So this is where I'll add in like a pec fly. I'll do the exact same as Jonathan. I'll either do a cluster set, I'll do a rest pause, I might do a muscle round, but I'll never decrease the weight. I'll try and go to failure. I'll rest for about 5 to 10 seconds. It depends on how strong I'm feeling. If I'm feeling very, very strong and I feel I only need 5 seconds, I'll take a 5-second breather, get back into the set again, do another few more reps, another 5 seconds. And then at the very, very end of that set, at the very, very end of it, what I'll do is I'll hold that contraction as long as I possibly can. and then let the weight just drag me back. So that means I know then the muscles completely failed. I've completely fatigued the concentric and the eccentric part of the muscle. And like Jonathan said, I could pretty much do that in like 15 minutes max, and that'd be a workout for me. Another way I could do it is like, say if I'm doing pull-ups, and say if I wanted to hit all angles of the back, I could do wide, I could do underhands, I could do pronated, I could do so many grips. I could do, like, say, this is where a muscle round is very, very good, because you could do like a wide grip for 6 reps, then change your hand ankles, do another 6 reps from a different angle. And then that's pretty much a workout in itself. You're taking pretty much every set to failure, but you've got different strengths on different grip areas. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm a big, massive fan of low volume training and just getting into the gym, getting out, because you'd be amazed on how much work you can actually do in such a short period of time.
Yeah. Great points.
100%. I'm going to share mine real quick. Can either of you give a real quick, maybe Mark, just give like a real quick crash course on what exactly a rest pause set is and when to use it? It's just not a term that's used a lot over here.
Okay, so for me personally, this is just my opinion, I wouldn't put it in until the very, very end. The simple reason is, if you put it in at the beginning, you're gonna fatigue yourself very, very quickly. You want to hold on to strength probably the first 2 exercises. So the first 2 exercises, when I go to failure, it's on me. So I pick an exercise, and when I can't lift that weight anymore, that to me is failure. Now, the next exercise, that's when I'll take the intensity up a little bit more. So I'll add in, this is where I'll add in basically a force rep. So when I can't lift that weight anymore, I'll get someone to just drag the weight up for me, and then I'll control on the way down. So I'll probably give it 4 or 5 reps out of that. Then at the end, this is what I usually do. I'll pick a weight that's challenging, really, really challenging, between 8 and 12 reps. I'll do that set. I'll go to failure. I'll see how I feel. I'll rest for about 5 to 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. It depends on how tired I am. I'll go straight back into that set again. I won't decrease the weight. I'll go straight back into it. You will know after the second set, you'll only get about 3 or 4 reps. But that's good, because we're adding progressive overload to the muscle. And then at the very end, I'll probably only manage 1 clean rep. But on that last rep, all I'm focusing on is just dragging the weight in, and then I'm going to hold on to that weight for as long as I possibly can at the end. And then I'm going to hold that stretch position for about 10 to 15 seconds. By that time, then my chest is done. I'm not doing another set. I'm not doing another rep. That's it. I'm done. Time to leave the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you think about it, Colt, when you think about it, it's only like 3 working sets I'm doing. But I'm taking each one to complete and utter failure. That's it. I'm done. Finished.
Wow. So like another example would basically be like, if you're doing a dumbbell bench press, I guess just of what a rest pause set is. Your first set, you fail at 10 reps. Your second set, 3 minutes later, you fail at 9 reps. Your next set, 3 minutes later, you fail at 8 reps. Stop, take a deep breath, force out 1 or 2 more reps, and then that last negative is going to be about 10 seconds on the way down.
No, I wouldn't do it on a dumbbell press, because it's very hard to take the weights off the ground up and down. I would pretty much just do this on a machine press. So what we're doing here is we're going less time. So we're not resting for 3 minutes. A rest pause set is like, literally, you're going to failure. You're taking about 3 or 4 deep breaths, long deep breaths, and you're going back in and doing it again. So your rest period is only going to be 10 or 15 seconds max. And you're going straight back into that set again, straight back into it. So let's say you got 10 reps in the first one, and you rest for 5 or 10 seconds. You won't get anywhere near 10 reps in the second one. You'll probably give it 2 or 3. But that's where the growth starts. So when you push those last 2 or 3 reps, and then you rest for again, and then that last rep, just try and get 1 rep out of it. But don't just drop it on the last rep. So you've already pushed the weight up. Now hold on to it for as long as you can, until you've completely fatigued the muscle. Then you're completely done.
So it'd basically be like, so if you're on a chest pressing machine, you fail. You're not dropping the weights like in a drop set. So you would get 10 reps your first set, wait only 10 or 15 seconds rest, and then do another set, and you're only probably going to get like 2 or 3, and then wait 15 more seconds, and then you get like 1 or 2 reps, and that last one goes slow down as you can.
That's it.
Yeah, Colt, there's a caveat to this. So what Mark's defining is a rest pause set. And in my experience, it does align pretty much with what he said. So it's, say you're doing 8 to 12 reps, the second set after the 10, 15 second break, you'll be doing about 2, 3, maybe 4 reps. The closer to failure you take that initial first set of 8 to 12 repetitions, for example, the lower that amount of reps in the second set will be. Now, if you're doing a cluster set or something else, then maybe you can do 12 reps, but you only do 8 reps. Then that second set, assuming the same rest pause time period principles, you might then get close to 8 the next time. But it won't be 8, but it might be 6, then 6 again, then 4 again. But basically, closer to failure you get on each time, the more proportionately the amount of sets the repetitions will decrease over that time. Right. So it's 10-15 seconds, but you don't count it really. It's just in your head. You might say like Mark said, 5 breaths. 2, 3, there's no like checking your phone. You won't have time to check your phone. You might have time to sort of like readjust your form or check where your shoulders are on the placement of the pad or something, but you're not letting go of the machine really, because it's too short of a time period. By the time you let go of the machine, have a drink, you have to reset again, which will take time. So you're effectively in the same position for the whole, 4, 5, 6, 7 mini sets.
Right. And I was going to make one point as well. The reason why I am a big fan of this type of training is because, like, if you were to go into the set and let's say you lift, I don't know, whatever weight it is, and you lift 12 reps, and then you immediately drop that weight down, let's say 20%. You're pretty much going to max the reps on what you did in the first set. Now, are you actually progressing if you do that? You might be taking the muscle to failure, but are you really, really progressing? The goal is always to get stronger in the gym. Right. Now, I'm not saying that drop sets and supersets and all they don't work. That's for people that enjoy that type of training. We're talking about like low volume training, you just get in the gym, you hit the muscle hard and you leave. That's it. And it can be done. I've proved it many, many times, and I've done it many, many times with clients. Like, you can get in and get out and get a good workout done in a half an hour. Simple. If you just if you warm the muscle up, hit the muscle hard, you only need about 3 or 4 working sets on, say, a push exercise day. That's it. You could do 3 exercises for the chest, 1 exercise, a push down for the tricep, and maybe probably 3 movements for the shoulder. Or sorry, laterals for the movements. Probably 3 sets, and then you're pretty much done. Half an hour, you're finished.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm really, really glad that we're talking about this, because I've never done rest pause sets the way that you two are describing this before. Essentially, it
must be a British thing.
I guess so. So it must be. So it's essentially straight sets with short resting periods, and you're very consciously aware, obviously, that your reps are going to go down dramatically until the last one. How many sets do you typically do of this? So if you're going to do a rest pause set for one exercise, do you get like 3, 4, 5 sets?
No, just 1 set.
I think he means how many mini sets are you going to do, Mark?
Yeah, so, how many mini sets?
As in warm-ups?
No, so you'll do your 10 reps, rest 10 seconds, then you'll do 3 reps, then 3 reps again, and 3 reps again. How many of those total set? Yeah.
Yeah, I would only do 3. 3 is what I do. Yeah.
Wow.
3. That's it.
And that's all you do for that exercise, and go on to the next one, huh?
Yeah, and this is how I do it. Like, let's say if I am training the chest movements, I won't warm up on every single exercise. So I'll spend the majority of my time warming up in the very, very first exercise. On the second exercise, there's no point me warming up. My chest is already warm. So I'll get a feel of the weight. I'll probably do 1 or 2 reps. I'll go straight into my set. I don't need to warm up. My chest is already warm. Then in the last set, then I'm going to pick a weight that I'm going to be comfortable with. That's going to be challenging. Again, I won't even warm up. I'm going to go straight into the set. So I'm not wasting energy warming up on each exercise. I'm spending a bit of time on the very, very first exercise. That's when I spend the most amount of time warming up. And then as I prolong through the workout, I'm probably not doing any warm-ups at all. I'm saving my energy for that main set.
Yeah. because you really don't need to anymore after that point.
No.
Yeah, I think the necessity for a warm-up is very much dependent on your training style and if you're performing a complex movement. So, for example, if you're doing a squat as your first exercise, I would not advocate to someone to load up their back with 200 kilograms, then do a set to failure. Just because it's the safety element. Although it depends on your form, of course, it's a high risk exercise in that consequence. So if you're then to do something like a hack squat, you then might actually just do the hack squat just as it is. That's why training with specific exercises that fit well for your body, along with what your goals are, is important. So, for example, in my training, I don't do any warm-ups unless I have a high risk of injury on doing that first exercise. In which case, yes, of course, I'll use a warm-up. Like, for example, the other day I was in the gym and I did a shoulder press. I slept on my shoulder funny, so my right shoulder was a bit messed up. I did a warm-up. I just did the weight itself. I then put a plate on each side. I can usually do about 4 or 5 plates a side. And I thought, okay, 1 plate, no, it's not going up. If I felt like I strained it too much, so that warm-up was necessary for me in that circumstance. Otherwise, if my shoulder was completely fine, I had no symptoms of like pain, joint irritation, anything like that, I just went straight into my first set. And my first set might have actually even been an 8 to 10 rep set, so quite a heavy one. But the thing is with my sets is they aren't rushed sets. They're not like explosive bounce up or down movements. They're very controlled. So in effect, my warm-up is built into the first set itself that I'm doing. Again, like I said, the caveat is that the movement itself is safe and isn't causing you any joint irritation. So it depends very much on the exercise itself, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. I 100% agree. At the end of the day, if you're doing an exercise and it's not safe and you're going to failure, and you're asking for trouble. Simple as that.
Yeah.
If you go on to a squat bar and you're telling me you're taking that set to failure, I can tell you now you're bullshitting. There's no way you're taking that set to failure. Absolutely no chance. You're bullshitting yourself.
I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of people say, "Oh, I do squats to failure." I'm like, well, do you actually? That's a lot of risk you're putting yourself out there. Can you imagine? Because to do that, you'd have to assume you're doing eccentric failure. You know, you're going to the bottom of the rep. That's going to flatten most people. It's going to round your back real bad. And then even if you're using spotter arms to catch it, you're putting yourself at more risk because those have to be high enough to catch the weight from your back. Yeah. Unless it rolls off your back, and even then it's going to hurt you really bad. So a squat is an example of bad exercise to do to failure, in my opinion. Yeah. And that's why you use a hack squat, or something where you can actually rack the weight at different pinpoint positions in the actual movement. So there's definitely benefit to be said for the training that Mark and I do when you're using more machines and training to failure in that sort of instance.
Yeah, like okay. I don't get anybody to do a squat underneath a free bar ever. I either do a pendulum squat, a squat, or I might do underneath a Smith machine, something like that, something safe. I'd never put anybody underneath a free bar ever. I just think it's too dangerous. And I want to make another point as well. Like when Jonathan was saying about good form, like I see an awful lot of people bounce the weight off the ground when they're doing a deadlift. It's called a deadlift for a reason.
Yeah, not a bounce off the floor lift.
I mean,
that's what it would be called if that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, they lift a lot of weight, but then they lower it and they bounce it off the ground. That bounce off the ground is going to help you lift the weight up a little bit more. So it's just pointless. Leave it on the ground. Get yourself in position, retract the shoulders, and lift it again. Every single rep that you do, you should be focusing on, okay, I've controlled it, it's stopped, now how do I actually go again? Instead of just going with the motion of doing this shit all together. Like if you're doing a chest press, bring it down. Okay, what am I going to do now? I'm going to bring the humerus across the chest. That's what I'm going to focus on. I'm constantly focused on what's activating the chest. But if you're just constantly doing this shit all the time, yes, you are going to feel the muscle, but you can actually feel the muscle after the first rep if you really, really focus on what you're doing.
I agree. Yeah, something to be said for loading the eccentric portion of the rep in a very safe manner. So you've got to imagine almost like in Mark's example of doing a deadlift. You can either let it hit the floor, like dead stop, then lift it again, readjust your form, readjust your hip positioning. When I was deadlifting, I was doing it without touching the floor, just the way I like to do it. And I was effectively, when I was getting to the bottom bit where I was a few inches off the ground, that was where I was really slowing down the movement, so I had more control over the actual weight. I wasn't just thinking bounce, like snap. There was no snap to that movement. I like to slow down the bottom portion, like as if I've got a coil and I'm squeezing it and squeezing it and squeezing it. Then once that sort of goes up a bit, then it releases, you know. That's how I try to work my muscles. It's the same with every movement near enough. So a good example is a bench press, same thing. You can imagine going down with the weight, slowing down the last bit, then exploding up with the example that Mark gave of, you know, bring your humerus across the side of the body to the inside of the body. Trying to think of another example. You're using your quads, you're flexing your quads as you go up throughout the movement in a squat. You know, loads of different examples you can think of, but yeah, is definitely something I see very often as well, is people just bouncing reps, and that's where you get injury, lose tension, and it just doesn't build a good physique.
I think if you can teach that to a client and do well at teaching that in your coaching, you'll be a very, very good coach, in my opinion, because everybody just gives the same program: go into the gym, do your deadlifts, but you have to focus on the lifts. Like I know you are as well, John. Like I'm big on training videos. When I need, like every single day, people send me in videos, and I'm watching the form like unbelievably. I'm taking note. I'm saying, okay, you might have done that right, but what about if we just try it at this angle? What about if we just stick the toes out to the side a little bit here? What about if we grab the bar a little bit in this direction? Like I'm always looking at ways of making the exercise harder, but a lot safer at the same time, and getting more activation out of the exercise as well. Because I want people to feel the muscle pretty much in the first or second rep, not when they get to the 8th rep, 9th rep, 10th rep. On that very, very first rep, it's like, okay, that feels really good. The second one feels amazing. Oh, this feels really, really good. I can actually feel it now. But if you're getting to 12, 15, 16, all the 20 reps, and you're only beginning to feel it then first of all, the weight is too light, and you're just going with the motion. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, very well said. I definitely think the same myself. I mean, the value of a training video, you know, from your clients, it seems like something so silly and like time consuming and faff. Like, oh, that guy or that girl's recording her workouts or his workouts, you know. It's so valuable to a coach to see what an athlete's actually doing. I've had videos before of people that have been personal trainers themselves for over 2 decades, in some cases 3 or 4 decades. I'm looking at that thinking they're trying really hard. Like the effort and intensity is clearly there, but the form just isn't, you know? And it's like that could be the one thing that makes a difference between their training being more or less effective. And also, like you mentioned, like safe. For example, if locking out during a leg press. You don't do that, guys. No one does that. It's probably one of the worst things you could do for your knees, because there's no resistance against your hamstrings effectively to keep your knees in a safe place. So, you know, think carefully about your locking out especially, and don't rush into movements.
Same way doing the chest press. Like you see an awful lot of people, they'll push the weight as far as they can, but they're doing an awful lot of damage to their elbow joints. Again, you don't want to be doing that. You want to just focusing on, okay, what do I need to do to activate the chest? And it's the same with any chest movement. You just want to focus on bringing the biceps together. So you don't want to be just going up to the very, very top, locking it, because if you go up to the very, very top, the tension's gone. So you've already lost the tension. So do you need to go that high? Maybe if you drop it down another 5 inches, you'll feel your arms are shaking like this. That's when your chest is under unbelievable tension. So that's what you want to be keep on doing all the way through the movement. It's okay, there's the starting point, there's the finishing point. When my arms start to shake and my chest starts to shake, my muscles are under extreme tension. But if I go straight to the top, and if I keep doing that, you've got to understand that the fluid that's in your elbow, the more you do that, the more fluid you're losing at your elbow. And this is the reason why people get unbelievable niggles when they get older. They can hardly bend over, they can hardly write. It's because all the damage they've been doing in the gym in the first place, lifting just too much weight.
If you guys want an example of that, you can look at a lot of old school bodybuilders, and when they actually straighten their arm, you'll see like a knobbly bit on their elbow, and that's calcification of their elbow joint. They can't actually lock their elbows out anymore because they've done all these primitive, so to speak, exercises where they've been doing the skull crushers, bashing their elbows to pieces, locking out. It's not to say locking out is a bad thing. It's just there's specific exercises you can and can't do that with. An example of a bench press is just putting all the strain through your shoulders and elbows. There's no muscular tension going through your chest when you're just holding a weight out directly in front of you. It's going directly through your shoulder. So there's always an element of thinking of physics. Does that exercise in that angle put the tension through the muscle you're trying to work? Yes or no? Always question yourself when you're doing any movement, and that's something you should look at. I think a lot of people miss that anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Sorry, Colt.
No, this is good stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to share my training intensifiers because they're drop sets and same muscle supersets and all the stuff that now apparently I'm seeing that that rest pause sets could probably be a bit more effective with. But yeah, I mean the only training intensifiers that I've really used, or I guess my favorite ones, are drop sets and same muscle supersets. When Wendy was over here in Seattle, we didn't have a lot of time to train, and we were shooting a biceps video, but it was leg day, so we did kind of a bit of everything. So with like curls, for example, something that I kind of teach just around the board with barbell curls is, if you've been in the gym once, you've probably curled something before, all right? And so just normal curling form with just three sets of 10 with an easy bar, I don't think is going to grow your biceps. You need to do something that's going to push you a little bit past that. So typically what I teach on easy bar curls is to do 10 reps really, really strict. And then the bar is still in your hands. Use a little bit of glutes, just a little bit. Don't turn it into a barbell hip thrust. Don't turn it into a cheat curl or anything. But you can still get 5 more reps really, really easily after you fail with 10 truly strict reps. If you are truly isolating your biceps to where your biceps is the only thing curling the bar, you can test it by using like an arm blaster or by leaning up against a wall and trying to curl a bar. I think you'll be really, really humbled with how little weight that you can curl. And so you can lean up against the wall and do 10 and do 10 purely isolated reps, and then use a little bit of your front deltoid to rock the shoulder forward. That brings in the top head of the biceps anyway, because the biceps also tie into the shoulder joints, and they work with your biceps, even work with like front deltoid raises with dumbbells. At least the upper part does. So then you get the full squeeze. And so we did that for biceps. And then for what else did we do? We did drop sets on, I did a quadruple drop set on the vertical leg press. You guys ever use one of those vertical leg press? Man, those are fun. I don't know what it is about it. They feel really good.
I have, but not anymore.
Right. Yeah, and so we were going knees over toes and making it a quad exercise, and then for deadlifts, again, we were on a bit of a time crunch, and so I was like, man, we haven't done anything for hamstrings yet. Okay, let's do what's the fastest thing we can do and just get out of here? Oh, dumbbell deadlifts, dumbbell stiff leg deadlifts. So I think my sets were about, I went up in weight every set. Because with heavy sets like that, I find that I can actually increase in weight, and I'll fail. Typically, if I have adequate rest, I'll fail with at higher reps, and I'm able to get basically an extra couple reps as the workout progresses. And I think it's because of the growth hormone, the natural testosterone that's stimulated. And so if you give yourself enough rest to be able to let that catch up with you, that's how I am able to increase my training volume like throughout the rest of the set. So we did drop sets with that, and so like most of my, I didn't write it down, but basically it was like 5 reps at 100 pounds stiff leg deadlift, starting with the weight on the floor, not locking out so that I don't bring my glutes in. It was purely hamstring isolation. 5 reps of that, and then 70-pound dumbbells, 5 more reps. Total time under tension was about 45 seconds to a minute with each set, and then basically just kept the reps the same, and was able to increase them towards the end because we were taking our time with our rest. So the next morning I was like, "Are your legs sore?" And she was like, "No," and I was like, "Okay, weird. I thought for sure that would have done it." And then About 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was like, oh, okay, mine are sore now. So I know if I hit my legs really good, it usually takes like more than a day for the soreness to set in. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing in terms of training intensifiers, and those are most of my go-tos. On the rest pause sets, I just kind of sketched out my leg workout for tomorrow, and I was kind of curious if I could run them by you guys in context of like what drop sets would, rest pause sets would look like. Sound good? Okay, cool.
Yeah, cool.
I was looking at my journal and I couldn't see you guys nodding. So starting with barbell hip thrusts, that would be 225. So I'd probably get like 10 reps, wait 15 seconds, and then probably get like 6 or 7 reps, wait 15 seconds. And I mean, barbell hip thrust is one of those exercises to do because it's such a pain in the butt. No pun intended. It's such a pain to set up. That's like the biggest complaint that I get. With workout plans, because it just takes forever, and so it just makes more sense to sit there and do a rest pause set and then be done with it. Move to the next exercise. Okay, so then next exercise would be leg extensions, and then leg curls. So then then it's like I don't really need to warm up after that because that's all my leg muscles are going to be warm. Okay. So then the next thing to do would be, depending on what I'm feeling, either an overhead squat press, which is basically a machine press that is something that I use with our master press. It's really hard to describe, but basically it's kind of like a machine squat. Or like if you're squatting with a barbell held with your hands over your head is essentially what I'm doing, but it's a lot safer than that. And then stiff leg deadlifts on that machine. Basically, so it's kind of like a Smith machine stiff leg deadlift. And then I was thinking Jefferson deadlifts. So that would give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exercises for legs. So that would be significantly less training volume, like a lot less training volume than I normally do. I know both of you are smiling because that's definitely the point. I'm smiling too because this sounds great on paper, and it'd be great if I could get my workout done in a half hour and just get on with the rest of the day. So,
right, Jonathan, do you want to go first?
Does that workout sound like to you guys?
I'll have a quick go. So, you said at the start your hip thrusts, your glute hip thrusts, 10 reps the first set, 6 or 7 the second set. I'm not sure if you're going to failure in each of those sets or if you're just going close to failure or what.
You tell me. Those should be the failure, right?
Yeah. Yes. So if you're trying to get a workout in Colt, which is like half an hour, you're not going to be doing like 3-4 working sets per exercise. You might be doing 1, maybe 2.
Okay.
So if you got to kind of think it this way. So I think you said you've got 6 exercises you're looking to do.
Yeah. And then a 7th one would be lying leg raises for abs.
Okay.
And
yeah. Yeah. So unless you're doing a giant set where everything is weighted, stacked, ready, loaded, ready to go, you're going from one exercise straight to the next with like seconds break between it. You won't be doing multiple sets of all of those exercises. You just won't. It won't be possible.
Right.
That's if you're trying to do it in half an hour or so. I'd probably look at your weak points on your physique, then perhaps on the weaker points of your. Is it your quads you want to bring up or your hamstrings? I think it was hamstrings.
Vastus lateralis.
Okay, they're outside of your quad. So yeah, you might look at maybe doing one set of the hip thrust. So all that pain in the ass work and effort to stack the machine for one set. You know, that's how it works, I guess.
So you're talking one rest pause set with like 3 or 4 mini sets. The rest set. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're assuming training to failure or close to failure, maybe 10, 3, 3, 2, or 10, 4, 3, 2. The point is not the numbers themselves. The point is just to go to failure if you're going for that sort of methodology. One set on that. Then if it is either your leg curl or your leg extension, you might do 1 on the leg curl, 2 on the leg extensions, maybe 2 on the squat thing, whatever you said it was. I think you said a Jefferson. Yeah, the machine squat. Yeah, then maybe 1 or 2 on the Jefferson. I think trying to think what else you had now. Then last was the abs. I think you might just do 1 or 2 on the abs. I think 1 on the abs is pretty good. You know, I don't really train abs much, if ever, if I can help it. But yeah, for me, abs is a tricky one. But yeah,
I was going to talk to you guys at some other point too about ab training, but that's probably kind of a different topic. Just when and how if heavyweight burnouts. You know.
Colt, let me give you this anecdote. So my friend Jerome Armstrong, he's another YouTuber. He talks about high intensity training. His business, his studio is called 18 Minute Fitness. He puts his clients through a workout, which is around 5, 6, maybe 7 sets in total. And that's the form of a big circuit. So the way he does it, for example, in a push workout, might be 2 for chest, 2 for shoulders, 2 for triceps, or 2, 3, 1, or some kind of combination around there. So he'll be doing about 7 sets, maybe 6 sets. All of those sets are to concentric failure. Then we're doing push-pull legs workout each week, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example. And he's doing that, like I said, in 18 minutes. So 6 sets, roughly, in 18 minutes. But bear in mind, it's his own studio, so it's got it all set up ready. So if you're looking perhaps to do a session in half an hour, you might be looking at maybe, assuming it's all set up quite well, 10 sets, maybe 11 sets in total. So I'd favour your volume perhaps close towards exercises that you want to improve on, get stronger on. Exercise which focus the vastus lateralis, like you mentioned. So you might even prioritise that movement close to the start of your workout. That's basically how I'd take it. But yeah, you wouldn't need warm-ups if you're training in a way that you're having the hip thrust first, I don't think. Just because that is a quad, hamstring and glute exercise all in one. So,
yeah, that's why
what do you think, Mark?
That's why I like to have people start with that one, because it kind of hits everything. And if your glutes aren't activated, then your whole body posture is a joke.
Yeah. What do you think, Mark?
So for me, when I heard it first, Colt, I was like, too much volume, way too much volume. You won't get all that done in half an hour.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would pick either a hamstring day or a quad focus day. That's what I would do personally. So let's say you're focusing mainly on the quads. You want to focus more on the vastus lateralis. I would focus more pretty much on just 2 main lifts. And I wouldn't do a rest pause set on either of those sets. I just do a straight set. But you could get away with doing a rest pause set on a leg curl, a seated leg curl, and a leg extension. They're the only ones. So on the very first exercise, to activate the quads, I like to do hamstring curls. So it just gives you more power for some particular reason. Mm-hmm. Then I would put you on then a leg press, and I'd try and get you down as deep as I possibly can, but I'd make sure your legs are narrow. And again, that would be just 1 main set. Then we're going towards the quads again. So I'll put you on the leg extension. This is where I'll do like 2 sets here. I'll do a heavy set, and then I'll do a back off set then straight after that. So the first set will be probably between 8 and 12. The second one between 12 and 15. And then the last exercise, I'm going to take you to absolute failure on the hack squat. Like, I'm going to literally drive you into the ground. You won't be able to walk after this one. And then at the end, then you're done. That's it. Like, do maybe 3 or 4 calves to failure. You'll be in and out within half an hour. That's it. So you'll do 2 big main sets on your big compound lifts, and you will take those to failure. Put it down in your logbook. Mark down what number you got. Give yourself about a week or 10 days and come back and do it again. But then the next leg training you do should be focused on the hamstrings, and then go back to the quads, and then go back to the hamstrings. That's the way I would personally do it. I think if you do more high frequency training, your legs will actually grow a lot faster. Whereas if you're training your legs once a week, you're only training them, say, 104 times out of the year. If you're only training them once, how many times? Well, yeah, it'd be about 104 times a year or out of the year. But if you're doing it twice, you're getting double the amount of volume. So, but you want to be smart. You're saying, right, okay, I'm not going to go near my hamstrings on day 1, or maybe I'll just do 1 hamstring movement, which is going to be a leg curl. But then on my second leg movements, I might do just 1 quad exercise, which will probably be a leg extension, but I'll focus mainly on my hamstrings. So I'll throw in some stiff deads, some glute bridges, something like that. But I'm a big fan of, when you go into the gym, the setup of your workout is extremely important. So I won't go into the gym and do a heavy compound lift. I like to activate the muscle first. So that'll be, so if I am doing a leg day, I'll focus either on the hamstrings. I'll do some quads. I won't neglect my abductors as well. I'll get them in as well. I'll make sure everything feels really, really good before I go near a compound lift. That's just for me. And I think the reason why I do that now is because of my age. Whereas when I was your guys' age, I just could go into the gym, lift a lot of weight in the gym, and that's it. I could get away with it. But nowadays, I have to be very, very careful what I do in the gym.
100%. Okay, so taking a little bit of what both of you said, then, because again, I'm working with limited equipment. I wish I had a leg press. I could do a rest pause set for hip thrusts, rest pause set for leg extensions, rest pause set for leg curls, and then Jefferson deadlifts could be my primary lift, because that's going to be, and really my whole body right now is telling me that I need to do Jefferson deadlifts. This happens like once every month or two, but when my back starts getting really compressed, especially if I've been doing any kind of lower something that taxes the lower back, like deadlifts or like barbell squats or anything, I get to a point to where I need to do Jefferson deadlifts, and then that's an asymmetrical exercise that kind of reshifts my spine. And even if I can go as heavy as I want on it, and I always feel, and it always seems to correct it, almost like kind of going to a chiropractor. So I'll do those as the primary lift, but no rest pause sets there, right? That's what you're saying, and you would only do a couple sets to absolute failure on those Jeffersons as the main compound lift.
Yeah, there, because the reason for that is, like, if you're going to failure on that movement, but you going back into it again, you've got to think about your CNS system. Like your CNS system's gonna be fried, absolutely fried. So does it make sense for you to go back in and do it again? Not really. I think you're risking injury if you push it that far. I think if you just do one straight set, you can pretty much just go to complete failure, and that's it.
Yeah, you'd only do rest pause on one set, really. One set in a given exercise. So what your homework is, Colt, for you to do, and for everyone that listens to this, if you're going to be applying any rest pause methodology, any intensifier, work out alongside your normal typical workout routine how many of them you can do in a given time period and still progress from one workout to the next. So if, for example, you increased your frequency of leg workouts from 1 to 2 per week, say, for example, you did 10 working sets, and say all of them were rest pause sets. Say your strength dropped off the following week, you'd then actually decrease the amount of rest pause sets you'd be doing. So perhaps drop it down to 8. If then your progress still isn't going up, drop it down to 6, 7. That's effectively how you do it. So the important thing about training, especially when you're adding in all this extra intensity work, is to auto-regulate it as per your workout. So you might notice that, for example, you do the Jefferson squats, do 2 sets of rest pause or 2 sets to failure on the workout that we kind of outlined between Mark and myself. Then if you're doing that again 4, 5, 6 days later, and you notice your lifts have gone down, your back hurts, you feel fatigued, reduce that down to 1. If still that's not sorting it out, reduce either of those workouts to 1 working set. Then that's how you basically work out training intensity and volume. So you have your baseline sets, your workout. Mark very, very intelligently outlined that it's important where you position different movements in a workout, because that can make or break your training routine, honestly. You put something in the wrong place, that could seriously mess you up and take away from your results, because you're not able to focus properly on what you're trying to intend to do, like in terms of specificity and different muscle groups. So, yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, all that matters is you're beating your numbers every week. So that's it. That's all you need to do. So, but it's very, very hard to do that on a rest pause set, because then you have to count, okay, how many reps did I do in total? You should be focusing on your main big lifts. So if you're doing a hack squat or a deadlift or whatever it is, they're the ones you're going to focus on. But what I would do is, instead of increasing the weight every week, look back at your form. So video yourself. Was that lift perfect? Was every single rep the very, very same as the very, very first rep? Did I mess up at the end? Did I mess up at the middle, in the middle? Did I mess up at the beginning? Can I improve on that lift? So instead of focusing on how much weight I can actually lift, focus more on getting better at that lift, if that makes sense. Because when you get better, if you get better at that lift, that's how you're going to grow. And I love seeing people that are lifting a lot of weight, but they're lifting it with immaculate form, like immaculate.
Okay, so to sum up, like if I was going to do five sets of 10 machine squats, and then 6 sets of 10, 6 sets of 5, that's like what I would normally do for Jefferson deadlifts, with like not super long rest sets, but probably like 3 or 4 minutes. I like, and it always has to be an even number of sets because you switch legs every time, right? So to avoid muscle imbalances, it's either 2 sets, 4 sets, or 6 sets, but nowhere in between. And then finish off with lying leg raises, but that one could be a rest pause set. So I'll see how fast I can get this all done. Probably about 30, 45 minutes.
Sorry, Colt, I wouldn't focus on like going into the gym and thinking about how fast you're doing the workout. Yeah. I would just focus on what you're actually doing in that workout. And then let the time be. Like, let's just see. Don't focus on the watch. Don't just say, oh, Jesus Christ, it's 40 minutes. I need to hurry up here. No. Go into the gym, train the way you train, but just lower the volume down. If you need an extra minute or two to look at that hack squat and say, right, block out everything, put your earphones on, listen to something that you enjoy. And the minute you get into that exercise, block out everything. Just go in and absolutely destroy it. But don't let outside interference get in the way of your workout. Don't think of timing. You just go into the gym, do what you have to do, look at your watch when it's all done, and that's it. You're not doing any cardio here. It's not a sprint. You're just trying to build muscle and get better at building muscle. And if that takes you 40 minutes, brilliant. If it takes you 45 minutes, brilliant. Everybody's different. I can do it a certain way. Jonathan does it a certain way. You do it a certain way. You need to do what works for you. Don't focus on what I do. Don't focus on what works for me. Works for me. What works for me. I have done it over the years. It took a long time for me to train the way I train, and I've spoken to an awful lot of people in the industry that train that way, and it suits me because of my lifestyle, my age. I'm not going into the gym to be the biggest in the gym. Okay, if I was Jonathan's age or yours age, I'd be probably training completely different. But you need to do what you enjoy. Don't focus on the clock. Focus on just improving in the gym every single day, and that's it. Don't let anything else get in your way.
Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'll just kind of add on to that in the same but slightly different way. So you've got your different metrics to evaluate your performance as a bodybuilder. You've got your video analysis, so you can record your sets. Yep. You've got your strength log, your brilliant Superset Your Life training booklet, which I love. I think Sophie's nicked that now.
you can find those at supersetyourlife.com. Shameless plug. We're getting new ones coming in too. Yep.
That's it. Yeah, they're very good. I do recommend people buy them if they come across them. So yeah, please look out for that. And yeah, so you have 2 different metrics there. You can easily look at. You can easily log your stuff. You can easily check your performance in a video. Look at those 2 things. Do the workout that you outlined that you want to do. Like Mark said, that might take you 45, 50 minutes, whatever it takes. It takes as long as it takes. If you're finding, okay, this extra 40 minutes of my life I don't want to spend doing this or workout, I want to fit it in 30 minutes. Okay, well, you're gonna have to increase the intensity. You have to decrease the sets because there isn't enough time in the day to spend doing loads of different things. And if you like to spend, I spend 2 to 3 minutes between my two rest periods between my sets. That's just me. That's what I like to do. I find I get a bit phased out if I do it too quickly. So you'll find your own sort of training cadence in a way, or tempo. Then if for example, like I said, you're doing 45 minutes, you think this is a real pain. Yeah, so I want to be able to do this in half an hour. Then yeah, take off a set or two. Take off a set or two that you find of an exercise is the least use to you. Whatever you think is, that is a bit of waste time. Then just look at all the other exercises and find ways to make those more intense. At the same time, I know you're not like this, Colt, but a lot of people might listen to this and might think, I'm going to cut out the hardest exercise because Jonathan said so. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that, guys. Still include the hard workouts, the hard exercises that work all the muscle groups, the compound movements, whether that be a hack squat, deadlift, whatever you happen to be doing. But the thing is to taper up and down the other things that are perhaps less useful or slightly less effective in terms of building your overall leg mass.
100%. For example, if you're like adductors, for example, those are the muscles that bring your legs together, right? And so that could be easily replaced with something like a lunge. Your lunge could be your primary compound lift, and that's going to do just as much, if not more, activation for your inner thigh muscles than just isolating them.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's a much better overall movement, but then this is also where being considerate with your own training and what your goals are. So if, for example, your legs have like giant gaps in the middle of them, but you get they've got giant quads, you need to work your adductors more. So that's something where you'd prioritize that in your workout. You might then actually omit the lunges in preference of the adductors. At the same time, if your workout has 4 or 5 sets of a compound squat sort of movement or a leg press, something which gasses you out, it's really taken into your fitness capacity, then perhaps you might look at doing the adductor machine rather than the lunge. Lunge is quite a exhausting exercise to do, especially if you're holding weights. So
yeah, I hate them.
You have to look at it from so many different angles. So Mark's outlined his kind of workout. That he's not arrived at that sort of workout because it kind of makes sense. He's tried different things, and that based on his goals and his exercise capacity, his resilience to injury, things like that. That's what he's found works best for him. And I'm the same. We'll have different workouts, but different weak points, different strong points, different fitness capacities, different recovery capacities. It all comes together, and what you'll do eventually, Cole, is you'll find out what works best for you.
Yeah, 100%. Good stuff. Thanks, guys. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll tag you with the logbook and everything.
Nice. Should we perhaps look at a question, or do we have another topic to talk about?
Yeah, the other topic was just eating on the road. I mean, this one won't take super long, but I guess I'll just kind of share how I've been doing it lately while it's fresh in my head. I just got back from a road trip, so this is pretty convenient, Jonathan. When you suggested this topic, I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I think I was in the car eating a keto brick when I replied to you.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, our meal prep was super easy. I'm just a huge fan of elimination diets in general. Obviously, the carnivore diet being at the top of the list because it's a species appropriate diet. But it's if you can just simplify your meal prep to only having to eat 1 or 2 meals a day, then that right away saves you a ton of time and a lot of decision fatigue. We went to coach Carly through her third and final. It's probably going to be her final bodybuilding competition. she's 100% natural and she's done 3 of them now within the span of about 5 months. So she's she's definitely earned some time off. But anyway, she did absolutely amazing. But I packed ground beef and butter and keto bricks, and that was literally it. And I don't even think I ate the butter because of the I've been favoring tallow lately. Been getting better sleep, been feeling better overall, and I've actually been preferring the flavor over butter in general. Keto bricks aren't 100% carnivore, obviously. I would say, yeah, it is the only processed food that I ever typically eat regularly, and I don't have any issues with my satiety signals or anything when I'm eating those. So yeah, that's pretty much my meal prep in a nutshell. At the moment, that is, yeah, it's not going to change anytime soon. It's great.
Yeah, as you guys know, I've got quite a mixed carnivore diet. So I have dairy, I have butter, I have, I don't know, eggs, cheese, beef, chicken, fish, whatever. I for myself on the road, I don't mind, like, I don't know if you got me over there, but like string cheese. They're not the best carnivore thing to eat, but it's in a package. It's something you can chuck in the car. It's portion controlled. If not, as Baby Bells. If not, I'll melt in some like cheese into an egg, make like an egg chaffle waffle thing. They're quite good, handy to pack in some tin foil or something. Other things I now make a carnivore protein bread, which is absolutely delicious. It has 4 ingredients. I might share the recipe sometime. But that's a handy thing. It's quite a nice sweet treat. It's compact. You can put it in a box, eat it anytime throughout the day. It probably stays, in my opinion, about 2 days outside the fridge quite safely.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, so it's a handy thing. Honestly, it's full of butter as well and fat, so it's very energy dense, especially if you're a bodybuilder, you've got a lot of energy expenditure. Other things you might include pickled eggs, biltong. I'm not a fan of beef jerky because it's often laden and got tons of sugar and crap on it, basically, and extra junk you don't need. But yeah, that's essentially it for me. What about you, Mark? I mean, hopefully we've not talked about all of the little options, but what would you do if you were out on the road?
No, mine is pretty basic. As you guys know, I have a massive dairy allergy. I can't eat the egg yolk for some reason. I thought I just can't. It just destroys my stomach. So if I'm out on the road, then I just a couple of tins of sardines. That's all I have with me. That's all I have. Simple as that. I have whey protein there, but I don't use it because, again, it just upsets my stomach no matter what protein powder I take. So I just try and keep it as simple as possible. So my diet at the moment is just meat and butter at the moment, and the butter I'm taking is cacao butter, and I enjoy it. It's not like I don't enjoy it. I do actually enjoy it. I just swap the meats up a little bit. So one day I might have salmon, one day I might have steak, one day I might have chicken, one day I might have lamb or pork or whatever. So I'm just mixing the meats up, and it hasn't been boring at all. But I would love to have more variety. Like I'd love to have more. I'd love to have eggs. I'd love to get to eat dairy, simply because you can just get the volume of the food up. That's all. But in regards to flavor, like, no, it's not. But if I have to eat, if I'm on the roads, then I will. I'll just get a couple of tins of sardines. I'll eat them in the car, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome stuff, guys. I'll add a couple things to that too. First one is just a little bit of perspective on traveling and meal timing in general. Is if you're fat adapted, then missing a meal is really no big deal. If you're consuming meals that have carbohydrates in them, you're kind of locked down and nailed to a clock. Like you have to eat at a certain time, otherwise you're going to have no energy. If you're fat adapted, you eat fat and you're running on dietary fat, then your body changing from metabolizing dietary fat to body fat is a very smooth process. But to go from carbs and then you have your insulin spike and everything, you have a hard time burning fat for fuel after that. And so if you are ever on a pinch on the road and you just can't get an opportunity to eat, then you're fine. Then you can just have a bigger meal later at night, and then your satiety signals are going to indicate to you how big that meal should be. And then just a couple other things, like if you are really in a pinch and like you do need something, I don't know, maybe you're not 100% fat adapter, you're not 100% carnivore or whatever, you're just trying to keep it keto when you're traveling. Coffee with cream in it, just heavy cream, and have some of your own salt with you. I always have my salts on me. Those are something that I have with me no matter where I am, because being hydrated and having my electrolytes in check, regardless of meal timing, is extremely essential for me to be able to function. And so I'll add some salt into that. Restaurants, I'm pretty much just always, oh my gosh, at Carly's after party for her show. We went to a bar, and Wendy and I were like, oh, we're totally just going to get burger patties. And that should be really simple, right? Because that's normally what we do when we go out. So it's me, Wendy, Carly, and her mom, and we all get, let's see, that she got her entire after party meal, her splurge that she was looking forward to, which was like basically a whole bunch of cookies and ice cream and pizza and just amazing looking stuff. That's all I gotta say. So Wendy and I are here with our keto bricks and eagerly awaiting our burger patties that we asked for. We get them, and they're covered in barbecue sauce. We asked for them to be raw. They are completely overcooked. It took them an hour to get us our order to begin with. And they told me that my dog wasn't welcome there, and so that kind of set me off to begin with. I looked at the food and I was like, "Are you kidding, bro?" And the waiter was like, "Oh yeah, no, that's not what you ordered. Here, I'll come right back." And so he went and checked with his manager. He comes back and he's like, "Hey, my manager said that I'll take 50% off your bill." And I was like, yeah, good one. How about 100%, bro? This isn't what I ordered. I'm not going to eat it. And so he went and told his manager that, and he came back and he's like, okay, 100%. And I actually discounted Carly and her mom too because I just feel bad for their trouble. So, yeah,
Yeah.
staying on a carnivore diet, traveling can be interesting.
It's amazing they gave you money back, Colt. I'm not sure if Mark's got the same experience in his country in Ireland, but over here the hospitality industry is trash. There's no hospitableness over here. Like, people are generally friendly.
I noticed that with the restaurants over there when I was there. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's not. You do get nice places. I'm not saying they don't exist, but customer service, it's terrible. I mean, I'll give you guys one example which is very relevant to this topic. So Sophie and I went to Costco, which is an American-based chain, whatever it is, and we have some of them over here, like big mega store sort of things.
Their headquarters are actually about three hours from me.
Oh wow, yeah. So what happened was I went over there to order like a beef hot dog thing, and a drink or whatever it was, and something else. In the end, I ended up getting 2 beef hot dogs, but not the rest of my order. Yeah. I was like, okay. But I didn't realise until about 5 miles up the road. So by which point it's too late to turn back, really is. We don't like to waste petrol and spend extra time doing things we don't need to do. Then I thought, you know what, Sophie? I said, we're going to call these people up. She's going to call them up politely. She's much better at dealing with people than I am. And she's going to ask that person to see if they'll give us a refund. Turns out they did. They're very helpful, and it made the whole process very easy. But I know damn well, if I went to like Tesco's and complained about their cafe and they gave the wrong meal, they'd ask for receipts and make the whole process really confusing and difficult. I wouldn't actually get anywhere, and they might just say, oh, sorry for the inconvenience, for like a generic automated email. But this lady through Costco actually booked in to have a private telephone meeting with us. She went out of her way from her own job to actually make the process nice and pleasant for us. And that just goes to show for you, the American hospitality style is very good. So that's one thing in particular about the American culture that I really appreciate, which is lacking, at least in my country, which is a shame because we do a lot of things very well, but hospitality is not one of them.
Yeah, it's the very same here. Very, very same.
I do have some questions from Matt's if we have time to go over these.
We can go over one of them, yeah, just one.
Okay, just one. Here we go. I'm gonna
pick a good one.
I'm gonna pick the one that's the most relevant to what we've been talking about so far. So when it comes to animal fats, do you notice any difference in how you feel with butter versus lard and tallow and other animal fats?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I tolerate and digest butter very well. I'd say butter's probably one of my main fat sources, funny enough. It seems to be, if I add tallow to my meals, it's not that I don't enjoy it or I feel bad. It just sometimes can lead to some loose stools. Not extreme, but sometimes. So it's a bit iffy here and there. Now, saying that, it's not that I think that tallow is a bad fat source. I think it's an incredibly good fat source. It's just some people seem to have a bit of issues digesting rendered fat. As well, where its source can make a difference as well. I mean, if you're looking at rendered fat like tallow versus butter, the main difference of it is that butter has a higher water content. That's the main obvious difference if you look at nutrient composition. So 100 grams of butter, something like 85 grams of fat per 100 grams. Tallow, 99 grams, near enough entirely fat, and it'll be entirely saturated fat. Butter has butyric acid, which is kind of like a form of short-chain fatty acids, which can be beneficial towards colonocytes within the gut. So it can be useful for aiding gut distress. Now, not in Mark's case when he has an intolerance to it, an allergy of some kind, so it wouldn't be beneficial to him. Tallow is a bit different. It has something called stearic acid, which is beneficial towards energy production, mood perhaps, helps boost fat burning, ketones, all those sort of things. So that's probably why people like Colt might benefit more from tallow. Again, it's just your own kind of feel what you find best and most useful to you. But for me, it's butter. For Colt, it seems to be tallow. And I imagine, Mark, you might have your own thoughts on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm the same. But I looked at a few options, and the one I tried the tallow. I couldn't eat the butter. The butter just wouldn't agree with me. And then I saw what Robert Sykes uses in his keto brick. So I did a bit of research on the cacao butter. I said, right, I'll give it a go. Let's see what happens. And digestion, perfect, absolutely perfect. Now, if I change that to like normal butter, dairy, I'm in bits. I'll have headaches for about 4 or 5 days. My stomach will feel like a block. It just feel like I'm after eating a block. It just doesn't feel good at all. I've got mental headaches. I feel low. It just does something to me. I don't like it. I don't like it. And I thought, and the same with like olive oil and coconut oil. I found that when I take too much of it, I was getting too much heartburn. So I needed to get a substrate. I needed to get something different. So I had to research and say, right, well, I just can't eat meat all the time. I need to have more fat. Like, how can I get more fat into my diet that's easier? If I'm having a cup of coffee in the morning, like, how can I get it easy instead of just adding a couple of tablespoons of coconut oil? So that's when I invested into the cacao butter, and I haven't looked back. And digestion has been perfect. I've been able to go to the toilet perfect with it as well. So no issues.
Good stuff. I'm just gonna say between butter and tallow, I prefer the flavor of tallow personally. I just think it has more flavor, and I've noticed I have less inflammation when I have it. I didn't realize that there's a difference in the amount of fat content, but yeah, it looks like there's about 10-20%. I'm just looking it up right now. More fat content in tallow, which makes more sense because there's no water in it. I'm noticing I'm noticing a little bit more clear skin since not having butter, but nothing to where I feel like it's a huge night and day difference. And tonight I'm probably gonna have butter just because butter sounds good.
The other thing as well, guys, the people that are listening to this or watching this, we are also in different countries, so the source of our food is different.
Oh yeah,
Probably for Mark and myself, our food is nearly always grass-fed for the majority of the year. So unless Colt was to go out and buy grass-fed butter and organic this, that and the other, then yeah, he might have a different experience. But Colt might come over here for one day and try out butter and think, wow, my skin's getting better and I don't have all these issues. So, you know, it's quite individual. And the taste is very different as well. I mean, yeah. I've bought butter from 3 different brands here in the UK. Kerrygold, Lurpak, Anchor, and I think there's another one. But those 3, to me, I can distinguish which one's which. So when I'm actually eating them, you could get them in a packet, take them out of the packet, cut it off. I know which one's which just by taste. So there is a distinguished taste between each butter that is from a different source.
Yeah. Right on. Well, good stuff.
Very
That's
good.
all we've got time for today. Thanks everybody so much for joining. Catch us next week at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time and 8 if you are in if you're in Ireland or in England. All right. Much love, everybody. Thanks so much for all the support as always. Catch you next week.
See you later, guys. Bye-bye.